It doesn't matter. I've done none of these things. Not even a little. Hello, fiber friends. Welcome back to Media Padawan Knits. Today, we are going to be talking about my 2025 knitting goals and where they stand at this midpoint of the year. So if that sounds like it'll be of interest to you, I hope you'll stick around. Hello again, fiber friends. Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Kristen, and today we're going to be talking about knitting, but specifically my 2025 knitting goals. We have reached somehow the halfway point of 2025. Let's see how I'm doing. Spoiler alert, not well. But we're going to go through them and just see where I stand at this midpoint of the year. I am broadcasting to you from Central Maryland, where we are currently on day 4 of an absolutely miserable heat wave, where every day the high temperature has been about 98, 99, and the heat index or real feel or whatever they call it where you live has been about 108. Fortunately, I think it's going to break today because tomorrow's high is only 93 degrees, but it has been very, very unpleasant. So right now it is about 1 p.m. and 95 degrees. Bear with me as my hair continues to expand. Again, I am in the air conditioning. The air conditioning is set for 74, which means it's about 74 degrees on the first floor. But on the second floor, it is considerably warmer than that. So at the beginning of the year, a simpler time, I made a list of 2025 knitting goals as well as my 5 must knit patterns. So let's see, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 knitting goals, and then 5 patterns that I 100% wanted to knit this year. Let's see how we're doing on that. I'm going to start with the one goal where I am having success, which was no impulse yarn buying. I have been doing very well at this goal, not because of some fantastic self-restraint, but because at the beginning of the year we found out that my husband might lose his job and we needed to cut back and make sure that we had a bit more of a cushion in case that were to happen. So far, so good. He is still employed. The US still has not restored funding for his office, but through some cuts and funding from other countries and organizations, they are cruising along for now. So he should be good for at least the rest of the year. Because of that, of course, I cut back on my yarn buying, and I don't think I have bought any yarn this year except for some specific yarn for one test knit where I didn't have what I needed in my stash. I don't recall buying any other yarn. I may have at the very beginning of the year, before all of this nonsense started. I just don't remember, but I have been doing very good on the no impulse yarn buying. And in fact, now I am actually trying to sell some of my yarn. So this is my sweet baby boy Finnegan. We adopted him in October 2024 from an animal rescue in Rutherfordton, North Carolina. And he will turn 2 next month in July. And when we adopted him, and we of course took him to the vet for his first visit, they said, and you know about his heart murmur. We did not. It was not disclosed to us. Heart murmurs are sometimes something and are sometimes nothing, but unfortunately, it looks like for Finnegan, it is something because a few days ago, his heart started to fail. The vet was able to pull him through. We're very thankful. The children especially are very thankful. As I said, he's not even 2 years old yet. He will likely have to be on medicine now, and we don't know how long that will work. The vet said eventually his heart will fail again. But at just 2 years old, we didn't feel like we could really let him go. However, we now have a massive and very unexpected vet bill. So I am destashing some yarn in the hopes of helping to pay that down. There is a link in the description box down below if you would like to check that out. Get some nice yarns, I think, at a good price, and help support my poor sweet baby Finnegan. There's also a link to his GoFundMe in case you'd just like to throw a couple dollars his way and support him in his heart recovery. He's He's so sweet. He's the sweetest cat. He's not super snuggly and affectionate, but he's so nice. Like he never scratches, he never bites. Even at the vet, he's just very sweet. Um, and he's my little orangey. He was my birthday gift, so he is very special to me. And if you are interested in some yarn, go ahead and check that out. And please stick around to the end. I will include a video of Finnegan making some biscuits just for you guys. All right, so the goal that I have done the best at, no impulse yarn buying. Excellent. What else? Finished Crochet Whips. I think I've done pretty well here. So I didn't have a lot of crochet whips to begin with. The very first crochet project that I started is still a whip. It is a blanket and it is an ongoing project. I haven't been working on it recently. It is simply too hot to have a lap full of wool, even in the air conditioning. And with something the size of a blanket, you really don't have much choice except to have a lap full of wool. So that one I have not been working on, and it is still a whip. But I did finish 2 other crochet whips, which was my little market tote and the Stevie bum bag. So I only had 3 crochet whips, but I did finish 2 of them. So doing pretty well there. I would like to make some more project progress with that blanket. But again, it is simply too hot to be working on it right now. Hopefully when the weather cools down, I will get back into that. One of the reasons I wanted to learn to crochet is because it is faster than knitting, and for things like blankets, it's a little bit more reasonable to work up a crochet blanket. It moves a little bit faster than a knit blanket. I'm not sure I've ever finished a full-size knit blanket, only a couple baby blankets, and those took quite a long time. So even though blankets are the primary, maybe not primary, but one of the primary reasons I wanted to learn to crochet, so far, blanket finished objects, 0. Next up, we have learn to spin or sell my wheel. So I have a shacked ladybug. I have had it since the kids were little, so probably 9 or 10 years. I can spin some very basic singles. That's about it. I can also do a very basic 2-ply of said singles in a, what is it, worsted spun, short draw. That's it. I've never learned to do much more than that. And I have made 0 progress on this goal. I have not touched my spinning wheel all year. I have not watched any videos. I know there are videos available. Probably Craftsy has some, and the other sites like Skillshare. I'm sure plenty of that stuff is there. Haven't even looked. So 0 progress towards this goal, and still not really sure where I'm going to go. I had a dream last night about spinning, which is weird. I was just in this dream doing lots of spinning, and I don't know why. I don't know where that came from. I don't know if it was just because I knew I was going to be recording this video today. But yeah, I really have just made no progress on that. And also kind of hitting a stumbling block, because if I do want to sell my wheel, how am I going to go about doing that? There's not exactly a big market for spinning wheels in general, and certainly not on something like Facebook Marketplace. It's definitely not something I am going to want to ship anywhere, so it's got to be sold to somebody locally. Probably if I had, gotten my act together and tried to sort of sell it around Maryland sheep and wool time, when a lot of people would be coming into town for wool and fibery things, that would have been smart, but I didn't. So I'm still very undecided on that one. As I said, I haven't made any progress. I do still have half the year to decide to take another stab at spinning if I want to, but it really hasn't been at the forefront of my mind, of what I want to be doing with my time right now. It has been a chaotic year, and I don't know. But then after that, having that dream last night, I kind of do want to sit down and spin and see if I even remember like the basics. All right, but 0 progress on that one. Move away from superwash wool. Well, since I haven't been buying any yarn, that one has perhaps kind of been a success. The yarn that I did buy for the test knit was not superwash, right? It just says wool, not superwash, so okay. I do probably still have plenty of superwash wool in my stash, and I'm not just going to abandon it. I've, already purchased it and it has also already been made, so we may as well use it. I still like the idea of focusing more on non-superwash wools, breed specific wools, things like that. But I can't really say I've made any progress because, as I said, I'm just not buying yarn and I'm working from my stash. So I need to use what I've got and haven't really had a lot of opportunity to be very picky about that. So we're going to say that one's kind of up in the air. It's definitely something, as I said, I would maybe, when I'm in the position to be buying yarn again, would probably be keeping in mind. But it's kind of been a non-issue. More color work. I had done exactly 0 color work this year. I did start a pair of color work Christmas socks at the end of 2024. And I do plan to pick those up again when it is getting closer to Christmas. And I might, be ready to think about wearing color work Christmas socks. But I haven't touched them since. And I have done no other color work. Now, part of that is when you're doing color work, you need to buy specific colors to fit a pattern in specific weights. So a lot of color work stuff is fingering weight. A lot of it uses 4 or 5 colors, perhaps. And I don't just happen to have 4 or 5 colors of fingering weight yarn in my stash ready to work a color work project. So again, the yarn buying moratorium has really had more to do with the lack of success for this goal than anything, because even if I wanted to work on a color work project, I just don't have the yarn for it, and I'm not in a position to buy it right now. So originally, one of the color work projects I was looking at was the iris hat. Throw a picture in here. I still like this, but I actually think, should I be in a position to buy some yarn, I might go for the full pullover. It is a very big project, but it also is absolutely beautiful. But yeah, I just don't have yarn in my stash, even for something as small as the hat. I just don't have because the colors need to coordinate. It can't just be like any 5 random colors. The colors need to coordinate and they need to be high contrast enough. So that also has really gone nowhere. Another pattern that I've really been interested in that's color work is the Veer pullover. Really cute, fingering weight, need like 5 or 6 colors, do not have them. Another goal I had for the year was to knit more neckwear. So I didn't provide any specific examples of this, but I was kind of thinking a lot of the hoods that have been popular, which encompass, like hat plus neck. Not necessarily cowls, because I find that they don't really fit closely enough to provide the warmth that I would prefer to have in my neckwear. Maybe some big chunky scarves. It doesn't matter. I've done none of these things. Not even a little. I did get for Mother's Day some yarn to knit the Harris hood. So this is the yarn I got. You can see it's a nice kind of neutral, just like in the pattern. It is a loft lace weight in oat and Andean treasure, which is a DK weight in horchata heather. As I said, I got these for Mother's Day last month. I'm not going to cast this on in June when it's 95 degrees outside. There's no reason to believe I will be wearing anything around my neck until at least November. So they're here. I have the yarn, but that's about as far as I've gotten in terms of anything that could remotely be called neckwear. Another big 2025 fail so far. Publish 5 new patterns. So I have actually published 3 patterns this year, but I actually think that is going to be all that I do. And that's a choice I am actively making. So the 3 patterns that I have published are this shirt that I am wearing, which is the Veraniego top, the Mufflement Dicky, and Winter Mammoth, which is a pullover. I love these pieces and I am very proud of them, but they've sold hardly any copies. So particularly this one, which I just released, I guess earlier this month, very beginning of this month, I've sold 2. So I used to publish patterns as a kind of part-time job, and I would publish 15, 18 patterns a year. I don't do that anymore. I'm really doing it just more as a hobby. But there are still expenses involved. And the biggest one, there's yarn and there's tech editing. And if I'm not going to get enough pattern sales to at least cover the tech editing, then it's really just not, even if it's fun, it's not something I can really, at this point, lose money on. And the yarn is less of a big deal because I probably would buy the yarn anyway. Sometimes it comes out of my stash. For Winter Mammoth, I did get yarn support. The other 2 were just yarns that I bought and had and thought would be nice. So I don't see that as much of an expense because a lot of it's yarn I have bought or would buy anyway. But the tech editing, I think it is really imperative to have your patterns tech edited professionally. And tech editors charge $35, $40 an hour, and a pattern's probably going to take 3 or 4 hours to tech edit. So if the sales can't cover that, let's say $120, $150, that's if you can't even break even really there, it's unfortunately not sustainable even as a hobby, at least for me, in my opinion. So the other problem is that since this is more of a hobby, trying to generate enough interest to get a sufficient number of test knitters to not just test the pattern, but also kind of share their finished objects, promote the pattern a little bit, has been challenging. So I had a number of test knitters signed up for this top, not a single one finished. So, that's going to impact potentially how many copies of the pattern are sold. If you are reaching the publication date and you have just the one sample to show off and you have no feedback from people who have tried the pattern, even if you've had it tech edited and you can confidently say that in terms of the numbers and the instructions it is correct, you don't have much to show other than just the one sample. And once upon a time that was maybe enough, maybe back in 2007 when I started knitting, but it isn't now. It really is not. People want more from your pattern release than just here's the pattern and it has been tech edited. They want to see it on different shapes and sizes and bodies in different yarns, and they want to know that somebody has used this pattern and produced this thing. So I did publish 3 new patterns this year. As I said, I am quite proud of them, but while I do have at least 2 more kind of in the wings patterns that I could publish this year, I just don't think I'm going to do it. It's just not worth the time and the effort and the energy to end up disappointed. So I will call this one a success because even though I said 5 and I've only done 3, I'm making a conscious choice to bring that to an end. All right, knit a white sweater. I'm going to give myself a pass on this one because it is June. So I had a lot of whips going, sweater whips in the winter. I put them all on hold when spring came. I think there's 4 of them. And I plan to pick them back up later in the summer. And maybe then I will go ahead and cast on a new sweater. But if I've got 4 sweater whips already, I'm certainly not going to cast on a white sweater in the middle of June that I'm not going to be wearing for ages and ages. So I think it's reasonable to expect this goal to be accomplished later in the year. I do have yarn for it. I actually have 2 options. So I've got this Altiplano from Knit Picks. This is a worsted weight. The colorway is called Niebla, and this is a wool alpaca blend. Right? Yes, 65% wool, 35% alpaca. And I have some of this fisherman's wool, which I've never tried before, but I got 3, whatever you want to call this shape of them, late last year, I think. And that is also plenty for a white sweater. So one, or probably eventually both of these, but at least one, hopefully by the end of the year, will become said white sweater. All right, and then the last goal I had for 2025 was to finish 25 projects. Didn't have to be started this year, it just had to be finished this year. Which means if we're halfway through the year, I should have about 12 done. And when I counted, I had 9. So we've got the Darjeeling top. You can find out more about that in the most recent episode of the podcast from last week. My Stevie bum bag, my summer slipover, this Veraniego, the Winter Mammoth pullover, the linen top I did with the hobby yarn that was a pattern hack of my Amankai tea pattern, a pair of mittens and a hat that again were potentially going to be a pattern publication but now are most likely not, and my crochet tote bag. So I'm not doing terrible, but if I want to meet that goal, I probably should have a few more things done at this point. So I think we're getting there. I mean, if I've finished 9 by now, that means I've got 6 months to finish, not start and finish, just finish 16 more projects. Math is, it's too hot for math. I have tons of whips. So I've got this, I've got my Sailor Swift, I've got my pie camisole, I have a pair of kind of plain vanilla socks, I've got my colorwork Christmas socks, and then I've got those 4 sweaters that I put on hold. So that's 9 right there. That would bring me up to 18. I need 7 more, but I will definitely be starting the Harris hood because I have the yarn for that. I will hopefully finish my cabled sweater that again was going to be a potential publication and now will not be, but I still want to finish it for myself. I've got my tea time test knit, which should be done by July 7th because that's the deadline. So that's another 3. And then I'm sure I'll find some smaller projects for gifts or, winter accessories, things like that. So I think it's still doable, but I'm definitely a little bit behind. But I'm gonna maintain that goal of 25 finished objects. So to recap on the goals, more color work, fail. 25 finished objects, okay, maybe I might make it. White sweater, maybe in the fall. No impulse yarn buying, excellent. 5 new patterns, calling that a draw. Learn to spin, 0. Finish my crochet whips, pretty good. Move away from Superwash, kind of a moot point, and more neckwear, nothing. So overall, I would give myself, on this list of goals, I would give myself a solid C. But I still have 6 months to improve that grade before we finish out 2025. Now, my 5 must knit patterns. Harris hood, I've got the yarn. That's a step in the right direction. Yun sweater. This is one of my whips that I put on hold, and I had finished the yoke, and I have the yarn, so I'm getting there. Iris hat. I don't have the yarn. As I said, I'm kind of leaning more toward doing the pullover now than the hat, but I don't have the yarn for that either. So either way, no. Kylie pullover. I bought the pattern. This is a cable and eyelet pullover by Irene Lynn that is worked in a worsted weight cotton blend. I want to say she uses Sanduskarn Lina, or however that's pronounced. So it's like cotton, rayon, something. I don't have the yarn for this. And it doesn't look like I'm going to get the yarn. So that one's probably not going anywhere. And then the Luminaria, which is a shawl that I wanted to do with some Advent mini skeins that I got from Cozy Posy Yarn Co. I want to say maybe the Advent of 2023. I haven't made any progress on that, primarily because I need a main color. I've got lots of mini skeins and they're relatively coordinating, so I think they would look, but I need some kind of main color to draw them all together. So the set came with a main color, but it's very dark and it won't work in this pattern. It's too close to the other colors, the other mini skeins, that things are just going to blend together. I need something that's going to be very high contrast to the mini skeins that I have, and I don't have anything. That's a single skein of yarn, probably. And I do have a Magpie Fibers gift card that I got for Mother's Day. So potentially I could get a main skein of yarn for that project. But so far, I really haven't put that much effort into that. It just hasn't been a priority for me. So of my top 5 patterns, I have started 1, and I have the yarn for 1.5 more. I'm going to give myself a D on that. All right, friends, there you have it. That is my progress that I have made so far on my 2025 knitting goals. Not terrible, but not great. I would love to hear, if you made knitting goals, how you are doing on them for 2025. So please do leave a comment. Also, if you are in the market for some yarn, I would greatly appreciate you checking out that destash for my sweet little Finnegan and his congestive heart failure. Poor baby. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. If you liked it, I hope you will give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. New videos here every Saturday about knitting. If you're looking for me on social media, you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Media Peruana, and I will see you soon in another video. Bye.
Do you have so many biscuits to make? Do you have so many biscuits, my sweet baby boy? Look at your little naked belly and your naked leg. Yes. Make those biscuits. You're such a good baby. What a good baby. Look at my handsome Fanny. Hello. Did you make biscuits for everyone? Fanny, did you make biscuits for everyone, you good baby? Oh, you're not done. Oh, there's more biscuits. Okay. Make those biscuits.